Greetings, gods and goddesses in training. Welcome back to the channel. It is Uncle Makara, all relations. Let's get started today. Today we're speaking about a really important topic. And what I did right now is I was listening to this podcast by Prakar K. Pravachan, who was interviewing this man. He's known on YouTube as Satya_speaks. So definitely check out that channel. Check out that interview first and foremost before we dive in, because I took some notes on this particular interview and I wanted to give my personal perspective. I'm a flow state specialist and I work a lot with peak performance shamanism. Okay, so how to use altered states of mind in order to make our lives a much more enriching, much more blissful and happy experience. Okay, so let's get started today. The first thing that I noticed, which was very powerful of a practice, is he recommended saying I love you to the cosmos, to God, to this greater grand existence. Now, I think this is a very powerful method because we don't actually acknowledge that. And love is undivided flow of energy, he said. So now we wonder why divided flow of energy doesn't feel really good, right? Because spirituality belongs to life. You've given birth to yourself in a cosmos now where everything is loving you back. You created this echo chamber by actually saying I love you to this existence, to life itself, to Kundalini itself, right? I think is a beautiful place to start. Next, of course, I was very drawn to the metaphor of the bow that he used, okay? And this is why I want to really do archery at some point. It's really inspiring to me because he gave this metaphor of the bow, which is the spiritual and the material. Too much tension and it will break, too loose and it won't pull, right? So pulling it back just the right amount is that creative tension that you need to balance both of these worlds, the material world as well as the spiritual world. So he called this process being a cosmic human. So a good balance of the spiritual and material. And he also mentioned that geniuses know more details than us. So people who are very idiotic or unintelligent in terms of their spiritual intelligence, they're only finding a few channels of their own creativity and acceleration, and they have it very categorized, very narrow focus, narrow view. Now, what if you were to expand that energy out? What if you were to use the Bruce Lee mechanism of understanding that this is pure, honest expression, right? In terms of the martial arts, it's pure, honest expression. Even though it's violence, it's still pure energy. In Sanatan Dharma, when something gives you that energy, you can actually understand that it is a give and receive, right? And the Rudra and the Bhadra have to coexist and work with each other. So 95% of people are living in thoughts. So when you look at judgments, they dissolve. When you look at anger, it dissolves. When you look at sadness, it dissolves. Because these emotions, when used in a right way, because if you look at emotions as just energy and you know that you are an alchemist and you can use it for something, now you're superhuman. But society has kind of forced us into this false binary of left and right, up and down. Even in mysticism and magic, it's like left-hand path or right-hand path. You got to be the gray, right? You got to remain in that gray area. And that's what we do as Primal Sutra to really understand this. And now this is making far more sense now that I've listened to this podcast. We've been conditioned to choose between higher chakras and lower chakras, right? Between mind and body, between spirit and gut instinct. But what if that choice itself is the greatest illusion? What if we just had to live and flow through it? I would say a true adept of Primal Sutra is not afraid of their lower chakras. A true adept of Primal Sutra doesn't reject the animal because the animal is the gateway to the divine. A true adept doesn't flee from instinct. They sharpen it until it becomes wisdom incarnate. So your primal navel brain, and he was saying that a lot of enlightened individuals live in their navel. They don't live up in the head. They don't live too low down. They live right here in the center of their beingness. Almost where Iron Man has his weapon, right, in his suit. It's interesting because that gut intelligence has been suppressed for centuries, right? Our animal nature within us, it's been called impure, it's been called beastly, animalistic. The wisdom of your body, the raw Shakti of the first two chakras, has been labeled as low, as bad. And so, of course, we've suppressed it, and a lot of cultures have suppressed it, or it's become an excessive overindulgence of it. The hara, if you look at martial arts, is the cosmic database, the mother center. And by doing something like Tai Chi, you're actually tapping into that Shakti more, right? To understand it better. So you are not raising your Kundalini, you are gathering it, okay? You're not forcing it, you're gathering it, he said. So that's really powerful to understand, because if you resist emotions, then you're just being tamed into this nice guy, he said. So your energy always needs an expression, an outlet. So longing to breathe out, that ejaculation, right, in a sense, that longing to breathe out is male sexuality. And for women, if you breathe out and you hold the breath, then you get something called air hunger, right? That's the longing to take in, that is the female sexuality. So male sexuality is longing to breathe out, female sexuality is longing to take in. So now that you understand this tantric breath technique, how are you going to use that within your day? Because there's something called solar breathing and moon breathing, as the adepts know. Okay, I shared that with them. Another thing that I thought was really cool is this technique that he shared of just kind of circling around your spine, almost like a spine tornado type of effect. And as you keep doing this, you slowly find that inner body, that gut center, right? You go down into the stomach. And then you'll find that a lot of the energy is being dropped into lower right here. You know, a lot of people, they don't breathe out to the extent of their breath. So they're breathing from up here, not lower into their diaphragm or into their bellies. And I think this is a very important point. That he also said, I don't make choices of upper and lower. I trust in the will of life. There are no waves. The wave, he said, is like a passage of time. It's just the awareness of the ocean that is enlightenment itself, which basically means we're at a different stage than when we are now. So people who have depression, he said, have repressed their anger. And if you make that person really angry, it might actually cure their depression, or it might disappear because energy becomes crushed in, and you make it explode, right? You make it come out. So attack your problems not psychologically but energetically. Understand that you can shake your body going into the Durga, or the core energy, the Icha Shakti, and then the expression or the dance, that's the Kriya Shakti, and then the final stillness and the wisdom that you get from the experience, which is Gyan Shakti. So when you approach it psychologically with counseling and these different things, but you miss out on the body, which is what a lot of this world is doing. It's telling you to only focus on the mind as the solution, only look at the memories as the solution, but actually sitting and dancing with this, like Shiva was dancing, right? Yet here we are trying to make it work. This love is spontaneous. So I want to sit with this life, just like I want to sit with someone that I deeply love. So art is the spontaneous flow of this cosmic energy, and this energy of genius has to be honored, not developed art just to make money or for our own selfish gains. It should be shared. So you're not doing sitting. Don't use the higher life for selfish reasons. Some musicians, they sell Saraswati when it's free. Each human is an experiment with a new design, a flowering of what is. So a child, especially in Indian society, they get split between performance and love, right? I can't make money, hence I'm useless. I can't support myself, therefore I cannot support others. So when you are creative though, efficiency becomes automatic. We are told to gather energies, and that's making money. But what if you would gather Kundalini instead? A lot of imbalance occurs because this society focuses more on efficiency rather than prosperity and creativity. And people have their own neuroses, and they've made it into a tradition. We live a life of efficiency, but not celebration, appreciation, participation. There's this technique called natural grounding by Rion. I highly recommend it. It's when you watch the feminine energy. So you could do this with a partner, a woman, a man. But for people starting out that are single, perhaps, you can start off with also doing it with a music video or watching someone on screen. But make sure that you collect a music video that's not highly edited and commercialized, because that's going to take away that Shakti, right? You will have to first of all find content that is pure, right? Pure Shakti, like maybe just a woman dancing, right? Without any agenda, without any hidden incentive. Like if you start your spiritual practice and you're like, I need it to be very specific and I can only do it for 15 minutes because I have work the next day. And if you start trying to contain this energy in this jar, it's not going to be able to express itself and fully move. What Shiva recommends is when you're in rage, you freeze, because the whole rage then becomes love after like 15 minutes or so. When you're doing something, you'll notice there's always a contradicting energy that you're trying to produce. Like, I'm doing this, but maybe I shouldn't do it. And then if you just drop that contradiction, it just becomes so much easier to move forward in life. Your life becomes that much more blissful, because you're not letting this other aspect, the shadow aspect, contradict everything that you're doing. Krishna said in the Gita, however so you perceive me, I'll appear to you. I am whatever you say I am, right? As Eminem would say. Protons and neutrons reflect whatsoever is in front of them, and they start to become like that. So if you say life is accidental, life becomes accidental. If you say life is beautiful, then life will become beautiful. And so to command our consciousness to actually live as the center, this navel area, this primal area of the brain, and be able to perceive that actually, you know what, my diet is affecting me, what I'm consuming is affecting me, right? Whether it be digital or material. And I start to understand that I have the utmost sense of responsibility as an energy being to use this energy that is my emotions wisely, have emotional intelligence, right? You can have all the spreadsheets, all the different, accolades in reality, but if you get a panic attack every time someone says, we need to talk, then you need to get better emotional intelligence. It's as simple as that, right, guys? So watch this interview, start to understand what's really going on here. Instead of judging ourselves, we should actually unveil this primal aspect of ourselves. Give this beast a space to do what it needs to do. Give this shadow or id a space to do what it needs to do, so that we can become the best versions of ourselves and remain there. Let's get it. Upward Spiral Gang. May we never be the same again. Have an interview today for some social media thing for this hospital. Let's get it. Upward Spiral Gang. May we never be the same again. Osa, let's go. Boom.